The Lancaster family had been looking forward to this road trip for months. It was meant to be an adventure, a 2-week journey west from their home in Ohio to explore the great national parks, roadside oddities, and everything in between. The father Mark had rented an old but sturdy RV, assuring his wife Sarah and their 3 kids, Luke 16, Emily 13, and little Noah 7, that it was the best way to see the country. No tight schedules, no expensive hotels, just the open road and a lifetime of memories waiting to be made. For the first few days, everything had gone perfectly. They had stopped at small-town diners where locals welcomed them with stories of their town's history. They had visited quirky attractions like the world's largest ball of yarn and an old mining town turned ghost town. The kids bickered now and then, but even that was part of the charm of a road trip. But somewhere deep in the vast plains of Kansas, far from any major city, the trip took a turn. The sun hung low in the sky when it happened. They had been cruising down a long, desolate stretch of highway, miles of golden fields rolling out on either side of them. It was the kind of landscape that made you feel small, like the only people left in the world. Mark was at the wheel, humming along to a classic rock playlist when the RV suddenly shuddered. A loud clunk, followed by a high-pitched whine, came from under the hood. The dashboard lit up with warning lights, and before Mark could react, the power steering stiffened, and the engine let out a final wheeze before dying completely. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," Mark muttered, gripping the wheel tight as the RV coasted forward. He managed to pull off onto the dusty shoulder before they rolled to a complete stop. Sarah, who had been reading in the passenger seat, looked over. "What was that?" "I don't know," Mark admitted, his voice tight. He turned the key again, but the engine only clicked. The kids perked up from the back. "Are we out of gas?" Luke asked. "No, we still have half a tank," Mark said, checking the gauge. Emily peered out the window. "There's nothing out there. No cars, no houses, just wheat." Noah ever the optimist grinned. "Maybe it's an adventure." Sarah sighed. "Mark, what do we do?" Mark rubbed his forehead. "I'll take a look under the hood." He stepped outside into the dry, warm air, the wind rustling the endless fields around them. Popping the hood, he frowned at the mess of engine parts and wires. He wasn't exactly a mechanic, but even he could tell something wasn't right. A faint burning smell wafted up, and he spotted a cracked belt that looked like it had been worn down for years. "Fantastic," he muttered. Sarah came around the front. "Any luck?" Mark shook his head. "I think the serpentine belt snapped. Without it, this thing's not going anywhere." Sarah glanced up and down the road. No cars in sight. "I'll call for help," Mark said, pulling out his phone. He tapped the screen and frowned. No service. Sarah checked her own. Same. Mark sighed and leaned against the RV. "All right, we have food, water, and we're safe. It's not the end of the world." Emily poked her head out the window. "We're gonna die out here, aren't we?" Sarah shot her a look. "Don't be dramatic." Noah giggled. "Are we gonna sleep under the stars?" Mark exhaled. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." Minutes turned into an hour. The kids entertained themselves by playing cards at the RV's tiny table, but even that started to get old. Luke eventually got out and tossed a football back and forth with Mark on the side of the road. "Someone's bound to come by," Mark assured him. "Just a matter of time." Sarah, sitting on the RV's steps, kept scanning the horizon. Nothing but empty road. "I'm starting to think we took the wrong kind of adventure." Mark put his hands on his hips. "Well, hey, this is a classic road trip experience, right? Getting stranded in the middle of nowhere. Something to tell the grandkids." Sarah gave him a look. "Let's just focus on getting out of here." It was nearly sunset when at last headlights appeared on the horizon. Everyone scrambled to their feet, waving their arms as a dusty red pickup truck approached. It slowed to a stop, and a middle-aged man in overalls and a well-worn ball cap leaned out the window. "Y'all in a bit of trouble?" he asked. Mark exhaled in relief. "Yeah, the RV just died on us." The man, introducing himself as Hank, stepped out and took a look under the hood. He scratched his chin. "Looks like your serpentine belt snapped." Mark nodded. "That's what I figured." "Well, bad news is, you ain't driving anywhere without one. Good news is, I got a buddy who owns a repair shop about 20 miles up the road." Sarah perked up. "Any chance to be open this late?" Hank chuckled. "Nah, but I can give y'all a ride into town. There's a little diner there, and I got a couch in my shop if you need to stay the night." Mark hesitated, glancing at Sarah, who gave him a small nod. "We really appreciate it." The family packed a few essentials, locked up the RV, and piled into Hank's truck. As they drove off, the RV sat lonely against the vast empty landscape. Hank took them to a small roadside diner called Maggie's, where the neon eat sign buzzed in the warm night air. Inside, they were greeted by the smell of frying bacon and fresh coffee. They settled into a booth, and Maggie herself, a cheerful older woman, brought them burgers and fries on the house. "You're not the first folks to break down around here," she said with a knowing smile. "This road's got a way of humbling travelers." The family ate hungrily, grateful for the kindness of strangers. By the time they finished, Hank had already called his friend, who promised to tow the RV in the morning and have it fixed by noon. That night, the family crashed on cots in the back of Hank's little store. It wasn't luxurious, but it was safe, and at least they weren't stuck on the roadside. The next day, true to his word, Hank's friend had the RV towed in and a new serpentine belt installed. By early afternoon, they were back on the road, waving goodbye to their small-town saviors. As the miles rolled on, Luke grinned. "Well, that was unexpected." Emily nodded. "Kinda cool, though. I mean, we got free burgers." Sarah leaned back in her seat, and we learned that there are still good people out there. Noah beamed. "And it was an adventure." Mark chuckled. "Guess you were right, kid." They drove on, the road stretching before them, adventure still waiting. Thanks for joining us on the open road, where anything can happen and there's always another adventure right around the corner. Remember before you leave to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the open road.